I want to tell you about a new piece of equipment. I don't do this very often, but when something comes out and I think it is a substantial upgrade or it's going to make a big difference in how things are run these days, I want to point your attention to it. To be honest, I don't buy much new equipment these days because I've got most of the stuff that I'm interested in, and I've got most of the things that I know can help me create really good audio for myself and for other people. But I want to tell you about this little guy here. See if we can get a good shot of that. It's the Wave XLR MK2 by Elgato. And the reason why I want you to know about this is because it's an entry-level piece of gear. It's basically a one-channel audio interface. They have some other products, but this is a one-channel version of their new audio interface. But it has onboard processing that's pretty legit. Now, there has been a few onboard processors, audio interface units that have onboard processing, but it's just kind of, especially for streamers, and Elgato is the company that makes this one. And they've had, like, their earlier version, there's been a couple by Presonus and some other manufacturers that had onboard processing, allowing you to process in real time, but it just wasn't quite capable enough of making some fine-tune adjustments. It just wasn't powerful enough. I think this little guy is one of the first units that's coming in at the price of its release for under $170 US. Really affordable, and I think it is capable of doing some pretty legit onboard processing, and I'm going to show you what it sounds like with my voice running through this processing. You're not hearing it yet, but that's what we're going to do and talk about. I'm going to show you what this thing can do in this video. What you are hearing now is my same microphone. It's the Roswell Mini K87, and now I'm going directly to the Wave XLR. There are no effects engaged. There are quite a few videos that walk through all the details of this thing, and that's not really what I want you to get in this video. I want you to hear that, one, this thing has the capability of creating real-time processing, meaning if you are interested in maybe doing Zoom meetings, or if you are interested in getting a processed sound for your voice in real time, meaning that you want whatever you're sending out to sound good already, not post processing, not using your DAW or plugins. If you want to get for streaming, that's really what this unit is designed for. But you could use it in a situation where you're doing anything live, or I think Zoom calls or business calls, or that kind of a use case is going to be very valuable. But here's the difference. I've got no effects engaged right now. But really what I want you to see here as we look at the audio interface and the software interface, I've set my recording level. I would say it's in a pretty good place right now. I think it's at, let's see, we're at 33 dB of gain, and I've used the auto gain feature to have it set for me. So, but I think I'm definitely in the ballpark of where I would manually set it as well. But if we look at the effects, we're going to start with the equalizer. So I'm going to turn that on, and this is one of the things that I want you to understand. This thing, usually when you are dealing with a unit like this, for this price, you don't get this type of processing power. I can adjust a bunch of different bands. I can add and delete bands, and I can change the type of filters. I want to try to find that one. There it is. 1, 2, 3. I've got that here. So I'm going to lower this down. I'm going to open up the bell a little bit, and that sound a little flatter, because I've got a little bit of a imbalance in my room. Most people do, even if you've got a stable recording, a raw recording above the threshold. So that's a little bit of a balance that I'm able to do. It's just 2.5 dB off. Let's see if there's another frequency. I'm listening to my voice, see if there's another place that we might be able to adjust. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe over here a little bit. 1, 2, 3, just to balance things out. I don't want to go too heavy. Let me see if I can make it like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I've addressed this. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit more kind of sweetening. Let's see if I can bump up kind of the mids here. 1, 2, or the mid range a little bit. All right, let's see if we could bump up maybe some of the low end a little bit to give it a nice, a little pop here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that sounds pretty good for the EQ. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is switch on the expander, and I'm going to fine tune it a little bit, maybe make the release a little bit slower, and it sounds like it's doing a lot of work. I want it to reduce about maybe 6, 7, maybe 10 dB, but if I raise the threshold here, it shuts it off, but I don't want the expander to work unless I only want the expander to work when I stop talking and get really quiet. Maybe we can make that release a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, and it opens up because the threshold is kind of low. Okay, I'm not hating the way that sounds. All right, and now this has a compressor, but it also has something called voice tune, and this definitely gives a type of a compressed sound, and I believe it adds a little bit of saturation. So I'm going to only use voice tune. I don't think it's really necessary to use a compressor when I use the voice tune lightly, or I use it subtly here to hear what that sounds like. Let's see what the low cut. Can I use the low cut? I could maybe use the low cut in this situation. And I'm thinking that kind of sounds pretty good, right? So this is the real-time processing. I'm feeling a little bit, I'm doing this all in real time here. I'm going back to the EQ and opening up this a little bit here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. All I want you to know is here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take off all the effects here. I'll show you. Let's undo the effects. This is what my voice sounds like with no effects, real-time effects with the Wave XLR MK2. And now I'm going to engage the low cut, the expander, the voice tune, and the EQ. And this is what it sounds like now processed. Because I'm able to go a little bit deeper with the EQ, I can adjust the bands, I can focus the bands, and I believe I can even add another. I think I can add another one. I thought I was able to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4 bands here. I have a low cut that's separate, so really I've got 4 bands that I can use and dial in and really focus and tune to my voice and my situation. If you have a pretty solid raw audio capture to begin with, and that's the key, I think the Wave XLR MK2 for this entry-level price, I just want to put this on your radar. I think it could sound pretty good for voice calls, or maybe Zoom meetings that you're doing. One of the other really cool things I want to show you is that the software that comes with the Wave XLR MK2 by Elgato is basically a routing software, and it's free. It comes with, actually, you don't even need to buy anything. I think you're able to download it for free and use it. It's called Wavelink, and it's the 3.0 version, and that's what we're looking at right here. So basically, let's say I was doing a session, a live session, or a directed voiceover session, maybe, for example, right? I know not everybody is doing voiceovers or recording, but let's say you're on a meeting and you want to, on a Zoom meeting, and you want to make sure that your processed voice goes to the recipients or the attendees of your meeting, right? And let's say you want to play something specifically in addition to your voice, but you don't want to lose that processed voice sound. What you can do is create a virtual output channel. That's what this does. So let's say I've got Logic output, and I want to add that here to let's make a new one. We're going to call this Lenny's Zoom meeting session live directed. All right, let's see. That's what that one is called. So now what I can do is I can add the Wave XLR MK2. So that's this audio going to this Zoom meeting virtual output. But I could also add Logic, and maybe I want Logic to be a little bit lower. So let's say I record something, I'm doing a session, I'm recording, and the producer is listening back, but then they say, oh, I'm not sure, can you play that little part back? Well, now, this is actually something you could do. I could go back to Logic and play back the audio that I just recorded, and because I have a virtual output that includes both the Wave XLR MK2, my processed voice, and also the playback from my Logic output. They're going to be able to hear both. So I can create a virtual instrument, and you can create, I think, up to 5. So you can send different things to different people when you're doing the streaming. Pretty cool, and it's the software is free. I'll put the link in the description. I don't do this very often. Elgato's not paying me. This is just something that I have seen, and I would say this has the equivalent processing power to maybe like a DBX 286S, which if you're a fan of my channel, you know I'm a fan of that hardware processor for broadcasting or live processing. So it's just something that I want to put on your radar. Is this a replacement for a Universal Audio Apollo system? No. Is this a really expensive high-level gear that is going to give you top-notch audio quality? No. But it can do a lot of great things, especially if you have a very stable, really good raw recording foundation. This could be something pretty useful. It's really small. You could travel with it, or if you're just getting started, or if you just want to be able to have live processing for video calls or any kind of live streaming. I think this is a legit solution, something to check out. Now, the last thing I want to tell you is that I think the Wave XLR MK2 onboard processing in real time can sound really good. I mean, it's what you're listening to right now on my voice, on my Roswell Mini K87. It's going right to this little unit, and I'm using only the onboard processing. But the reason why it sounds good is because the foundation, the raw audio capture, is stable. What I'm feeding this thing is good to begin with, and that is one of the big challenges a lot of people have. If you don't know where your raw audio capture stands, if you don't know if you've got a gain staging issue, or there's a reflection problem in your room, or there's some type of a standing wave or a resonance or a long reflection or short reflection that's affecting the frequency balance in your raw recording, those things resolved first make everything downstream easier. And you don't have to be using this unit, a Wave XLR MK2. You could be just processing in your DAW, in your recording software, or you could be using plugins or other hardware, whatever it is. But getting your raw audio capture stable, getting that to sound the best as you possibly can first, before you hit the processing, that's going to make everything so much easier, and that's where you really start raising the bar to get a good sound. If you are unsure of where your audio stands, are you above or below that quality threshold for your raw audio capture, your foundational sound, you can send me your audio, and this is something I do for free for anybody. You don't have to be an accomplished voiceover artist or anybody working professionally. You could be an absolute beginner. I work with people at all different levels. And so don't be shy. Send me your audio, and you're going to learn something, and you're going to know which direction to take your home setup or your studio setup or your equipment, and you'll know what to do to move in the right direction to improve that quality so you can make a better connection with whoever you're speaking to, whoever your audience is. Go to my website. It's lennyb.com, and you're going to see a red button at the top of the homepage there. You click on that button and just follow the directions, and I get right back to you. I listen to every submission, and I diagnose it myself, and I will get back to you and point you in the right direction. So I'm going to put a link to the Elgato Wave XLR MK2 and where you can get information about it and the software in the description of this video. I'm Lenny B. Thanks so much for watching.